right, good evening. We are back from closed session. It is 7:05. We are going to open our regular meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have a new board member, so he's going to lead us in the pledge tonight. So, Louis, you're on. Right behind you.
You know the words, right?
Ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Louis. All right, so we have a couple of corrections to the agenda and additions to the agenda. First off is under new business item A, we have a revised list of PIPs, which are provisional intern permit teachers. So that is in front of you. If anybody from the audience wants a copy of that PIP list, it is over in front of Tina on the side desks over there. Item B, the resolution for the declaration to intention to annex territory into the Community Facilities District. That item had a wrong date on it. So if you look at under background information, the third graph, the very last part of that, resolution number 8-19, actually should have read resolution number 13-19. So that's a correction there. And item E, on the consent calendar, one of the names was interestingly changed around. It says Beatty Shelley. And that really is not correct. It is Megan Cardoza, actually Megan Beatty Cardoza. Cardoza spelled incorrectly. Shelley was used instead of Megan, and Beatty and Cardoza was turned around. So it is Megan Beatty Cardoza that we are approving tonight, not Shelley Carr, whatever, how you say, misspelling Beatty. So that is the third and final item I have. Dr. Marshall, do you have any?
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Okay, cool. With that in front of you, need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda with the changes.
I think we had a second over here. Who was that?
Right.
Ray. All right, so we had a motion by Ms. Benton, seconded by Mr. Martinez to approve the agenda as amended and corrected. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried. All right, we're starting off with introductions and recognitions.
Okay, we have a new board member, Mr. Luis Castro. Right there, let's give him a round of applause, please.
Welcome aboard. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Your
Thank
mic's on. You have a board report coming up too, so don't blow it all here on the opening here, because you got.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for, expressing their support for me for this position as a school board trustee. That includes the community and my family as well. I received a lot of support from my family when I disclosed to them that I was running for, applying for the position. I basically just hope to live up to the expectations be set upon me by the community and Los Banos, and also very importantly, the expectations of this position that help us govern and be the best advocates for our children in this district. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Welcome. All right. Members of the public that would like to request an item be placed on the agenda may do so by notifying the superintendent 2 weeks prior to a regularly scheduled meeting, and that item will be considered. Individuals here tonight that would like to address the board on items that are not on tonight's agenda may do so by approaching the podium You'll be recognized, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. If there are multiple speakers on the same topic, it is a total of 20 minutes for each non-agenda item. Are there, and then let me go on to the next one, then we'll get to that. Members of the community that are here tonight that would like to address the board on any item that is on tonight's agenda may do so by approaching the podium once that item is brought to the floor. You will have 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes per agenda item. So it's 3 minutes per person and a total of 20 minutes. And then once we start our deliberations as a board, there'll be no more public comment. All right, are there anyone here tonight that wishes to address the board on items that are not on tonight's agenda? Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Good evening, Board Trustees, Dr. Marshall, and members of the audience. My name is Joe Gutierrez. I am your local State Farm agent in my 30th year of service. And tonight I come to share two exciting things with you. One of them is one I'm going to share as a State Farm agent, and the other I'm going to share as a Merced College Board of Trustee. But first, I'd like to congratulate Trustee Luis Castro for being appointed to the school board. So I'm excited to share with you that I have applied for a State Farm neighborhood grant for $25,000. And if we win, it'll benefit our school district. And it'll benefit it in a very special way, which I will share in a little bit. Here's how it works. The State Farm Neighborhood Assist Grant helps good neighbors across the United States to take an active role in improving their communities in 3 areas: in education, in safety, and in community development. State Farm Corporate will be awarding $25,000 grants in support of 40 causes nationwide. Only 2,000 applications will be accepted beginning June 5th, and it will be narrowed down to 200 finalists. Then the public will vote, and they will decide which 40 community causes win the $25,000. So I have good news. I am happy to report that my application has been accepted in the 2,000 total applications nationwide. On August 5th, in about 3 weeks, we will be notified if in fact that we are one of the 200 finalists. Then we have 10 days to get the vote out. Voting begins August 14th and it ends August 23rd. I've been working with Dr. Marshall, the superintendent, and Mr. Sutton, the principal at Pacheco High School. And I'm excited to report to you to share with you that if we get this grant, we would use the money to begin a mariachi program at Pacheco High School. So stay tuned for August 5th as we find out if we are one of the 200 finalists, and I will report that to you. Secondly, now as your trustee for Merced Community College, I'm excited to report that our new dean, who's replacing Brenda Latham, that retired, at the Los Guayanos campus here will be Dr. Lanita Cordova. Please make her feel welcome as you see her in our community. I plan on having a meet and greet at my office sometime soon, and so I will be sending out invitations to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
And I have a little information about the grant I'll just leave over here.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
As a former music teacher, I'm really excited about that, so thank you for doing that. Anybody else that wishes to address the board on any non-agenda item? All right. Seeing none, we'll go on to reports. Los Spanish Teachers Association. Jen, good evening.
Good evening. First off, Los Spanish Teachers Association would like to congratulate and welcome Luis Castro to our school board. We look forward to working with you, and we trust that you will put the needs of our students above any personal feelings that you may have. LBTA would also like to thank the board for coming together to make a decision to appoint Mr. Castro last month. By appointing him, you saved our district approximately $80,000. That amount is the salary of a teacher, countless textbooks, playground equipment, or a vehicle to help transport our sports teams. All year long, we have heard that a recession is coming, and we cannot afford to spend money when it isn't necessary. Providing the best education for our students should be of the utmost importance. And as I was getting ready to come here tonight, I got a text message from one of our teachers. Sergio de Alba from Miano was notified today that he won a $20,000 grant from CTA to be used for the gardens at the school. He'll be using the money for tools, plants, soil, and to maintain and grow that successful program that he's been working on for several years. Now, I'd like to say that summer is a time for rest and relaxation, and for some of us it is. But for others, it's the time that we spend getting organized for next year, catching up on the endless number of doctor's appointments, and furthering our education. We have several teachers attending conferences across the country and around the world this summer to hone their craft. I myself have attended 2 conferences this summer and have 2 more to go. The first was spent with Dr. Marshall, Dr. Calzadias, Lisa Souza, the CSEA president, Mr. Pereira, our board president, and Jeff Miller, my co-president. We attended the California Labor Management Institute in San Diego. While there, we were able to discuss some issues that have come up in our district, and we're able to discuss some ideas that we would like to see happen next year. We were also given the opportunity to listen to other districts who have overcome some pretty big obstacles and are able to work together in a very cohesive fashion. Lisa and I have a few ideas that we would like to implement next year to help our site reps and administration start off on the right foot and have open communication throughout the year. The second one I attended was the National Education Association Representative Assembly in Houston. We jokingly refer to it as Teacher Congress. We spend 5 days in a convention center with close to 10,000 educators and their guests. We had the opportunity to hear 10 presidential candidates speak about their views on education. And we were all very happy to hear that each and every one of them believes that a teacher should be in charge of education, not a politician. We discussed topics that ranged from ethnic studies to honoring Native people before meetings, to the right to choose, to not having enough women's bathrooms. As usual, there was some controversy. The Conservative Caucus had posters made that asked, "Do Black Lives Matter in the womb?" As you can imagine, this upset many people, but also led to a very productive conversation. In the end, the Assembly voted to censure the caucus. This turned into a freedom of speech issue. As Americans, we all enjoy many rights and freedoms. We have the right to bear arms. We have freedom of religion. We have the right to assemble. But what everyone was reminded of is while you have those rights and freedoms, they come with responsibilities and consequences. You can believe what you like, but you don't have the right to force your religious beliefs on me. You have the right to own a gun, but you can't just leave it lying around for anyone to pick up. You have the freedom of speech, but with that, you must accept the consequences of what you say. While it seems today that people can go around saying whatever they want and nothing happens, that just isn't true. I could come up here and say whatever I wanted without taking my constituents into consideration. But by doing that, I run the risk of being recalled and taken out of office. The same way any of you would face for making comments in public that are hateful and inappropriate. As we all go about enjoying the rest of our summer, I hope we all remember to be kind to each other and that diversity is what makes our community great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Lisa, California school employees? No report tonight. All right. Dr. Marshall, superintendent's report.
My report will be brief. Basically, we're hiring new staff members, as you heard. We're busy updating the district pages to the new school year. We're also doing an initial analysis of our student achievement data, and we've also been applying for several grants. In fact, there's one that's due tomorrow that's multi-million dollar grant for school safety that we're working on. As Jen pointed out, we've been attending lots of trainings. And as Mr. Wordy, is going to talk about in a few minutes, there's been lots of construction going on in the district, and he'll talk more about that in detail. So that's all I have this evening.
All right. Thank you. Tom, you're next. Facilities report.
Good evening to the board.
Good evening.
San Luis, our west side is up first. We'll get started on that project this coming Monday. It was one of our later projects to get started, as I've told you. So it's going to start on Monday, and we're going to get as much as we can possibly in the classrooms before school starts, and then work around the kids as we go. So I think working with Mr. McCulloch, because we got a good plan going, so it should be fine.
And this is the fire.
Fire,
Fire drill,
yes, this
yeah.
is fire alarm. And the other fire alarm at LBE is going very well. We should be on task and ready to complete before school starts. If there's anything left to do before school starts, it's going to be very minimal, and it would not disrupt any classes whatsoever. So they're moving quite well and fast. Volta, we have all the electrical in to 3 portables. The sidewalks are all poured and in. We're working on right now is getting the fire alarm and signal put in. It's moving ahead really well. I believe we'll still probably be doing some work before when school starts, but be very minimal at that too. I mean, it's going to be real close right to the end there. Now, San Luis High, on the other hand, we've had some delays in that project. And part of it is a sewer problem. We have to have a certain degree of slope, and we're not getting it. And then we ran into some existing piping that was there. So we're in the middle of trying to figure that out with engineers and the architects and everything. And we're really low or behind on the concrete, which I've had a talk with the architect and the general on getting it all poured. They're going to work this Saturday to get most of it all poured and finish up on Tuesday. So we should be ready. We'll be ready for school to start on Thursday. That was one of my biggest beefs with the general is let's get this thing moving for school starts on time, and we can fence off the back section as we figure out what we have to do to get everything finished up on that portable. And Mr. Mias has already talked to their teachers that were supposed to go into that portable. Everybody's okay with starting off without it at the start of the school. So we're pushing as hard as we can. Any questions?
Mark,
Thank you.
just a second, we have a
I have a
question.
question.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get too fast over here. Go ahead, Mark.
Did you say then that the classrooms will be ready for the first day of school, or? You said you had a little work to do, so.
It's real close on getting the playground finished off, the big field.
Right.
Getting it leveled off, getting it seeded, and getting the landscaping in, which, talking to the contractor, he says it's real close that we should be on time. But I think we can get it done. But we've talking with the principal, Matt, out there, that we have a contingency plan to make sure that we can move forward before, if we don't get to move in. So, I mean, school's gonna start
Right.
on time and no issues, and we'll get it done as soon as possible. But it'd be right close on that project.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Don? Gary?
Right on time. That's what we're looking at next Thursday?
Yes.
It's gonna cut close, or?
Well, we won't be finished with the project, but we're gonna get everything ready to all the concrete poured for kids can walk. They can get around to all their classrooms, and then we'll fence off the part that we still need to work on getting done. Like I mentioned, the sewer, the electrical is all put in, the portables sat down on foundation. So it's ready to go. We're working on the sewer part of it. And like I said, we have engineers, we have the architects. I'm looking at plans to see if there's any other area we can go to besides what was on the plans to move to get it to the street. The only other one is over at the county side, and that might be pretty difficult. Or we'd have to put in a lift station, which we do not want to do.
Right, it'd be costly.
Right.
And that's our sewer line. Is that a 4-inch, 6-inch,
I believe it is a 6-inch.
a 6-inch? Yeah. And we have a problem with the flow line,
Yeah, we can't get the percentage right.
right?
But other than, there's stuff in the way, and we're trying to figure out if we have to move electrical lines to pick them up, to go underneath it. We might have to pull wire back out of the portables that sit on the north side of the campus to redo the piping and then rewire it back, which would all be done weekend work for it's not going to disrupt any class.
Right.
And we're hoping that that is not going to be an issue to do.
Okay, great, good job.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. And now comes the new school. That has no name.
B Street.
B Street Elementary.
So, welcome to the board, Mr. Castro. And now we got a full slate.
Yep.
So the new campus is moving along. Contractor believes he's still on schedule. We poured the slab for 100. The framers are already on it. They built most of it already on the ground, so we should see some vertical movement on at least 100. 200 slab is not done because it's a different configuration. They're working on 600 footings, and they'll go 6, 5, 4, 3 right down the line and move forward. All the underground is on site, and most of it's tested. The last thing we have to test is sewer and storm, and that's going to happen on Monday. So fire, water, and gas has all been pressure tested.
Cool. So the facilities committee met with our county representatives for preschool, and we're talking about adding a preschool classroom wing at that
Yes.
site. Do you anticipate any problems with working between the two crews that are going to be out there? Obviously that's going to happen after school would start, hopefully they have
There
have
would
it
be a
done
little
before.
problem right now, being how the job trailer is parked on the site where the preschool would go. But we do have all of the stubs and everything ready to pull out there to them. We have everything stubbed out for that building or set of buildings in the future. We're under the impression it's a future job.
It may be a future closer than what was originally planned.
We'll deal with that when it comes.
Okay.
If we need to cordon off an area and separate them, give them their own access, then
I'm probably letting the cat out of the bag here because it hasn't even come to the board for approval yet, but something that we've been, something. that we're-
contractor's real easy to work with. We're point A to point B.
Cool,
If there's an obstacle, it's just it's 8.1.
cool.
We'll get to B sooner or later.
Good to hear.
Okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you. Gary? I'm sorry, Gary had a question.
I had a question.
We had,
Yeah, you mentioned the testing of the sewer and storm.
Yes.
When did they start testing the storm? Because I'm from the construction field, and storm was never tested.
Because we're using plastic piping,
Yeah,
we still
PVC,
test it the same as sewer.
SDR.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's all gaskets, so we want to make sure it's still functional. And we plug them up and pump them up to 5 pounds for 5 minutes. If
Same
they
here.
hold, fine. If they don't, we want to know it.
Right.
Because we can't have it leaking in the ground out here.
True. Okay. First time I've heard testing the storm.
We did it out at Creekside. We
Yeah.
test everything that goes in the ground out here.
Okay, great. Recommended PSI is 5 pounds, right?
It's 5 pounds for 5 minutes on
Yeah.
storm and sewer.
Okay.
And we test it for a reason, because somebody
Yeah,
runs
can't have
over
leaks.
one, they bend an elbow. We chased 4 of them down at Creekside for almost a week
Mm-hmm.
until we found them.
The water's in, it's been tested?
Water's in and been tested.
Fire
In fact,
lines?
it was chlorinated.
Yes. Okay,
And we should be getting the results back next week.
great. Thank you.
Sure.
thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I know point of order. I just would like, excuse my ignorance, first of all. I've never been to a board meeting, and I was waiting for the opportunity to speak on the comment on the item, and I thought it would come up at the item. So can we still comment on the item that's an agenda item? There's about several people here that did want to comment, but we weren't invited, so nobody moved.
No, we're not there yet. We're not on new business yet. We are still on reports.
Okay, I thought what it says here, it says public comments on agenda items. Did we skip that?
That's when I announced
Yeah.
that when we get to those agenda items, you have the
You gotta
opportunity.
excuse my ignorance, I told you. My
No,
first one.
no.
All right.
No ignorance here.
No, it's,
Clear, that's all.
no.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you asked for clarifying question. But when we get to that item, that's when you'll have the opportunity to speak. All right, we're on to reports, item E, board reports. Gary, why don't you start us off?
I've got no report tonight.
No report. All right. Ani?
I have no report. Happy summer.
All right. Mark?
I just want to welcome Mr. Castro to our board and look forward to working with you.
Super. Ms. Smith?
I don't have a report tonight because I was really, really busy hanging out in the Caribbean. So I wasn't home to attend any functions or events, and I had to take this vacation. So it was wonderful, and you guys don't want to hear all about it, but if I see you out in the street, I'll tell you all about my vacation. And welcome to Mr. Castro.
All right. Louis, Mr. Castro?
Do we have time for a 30-minute report?
No, we don't.
Then I'm sorry, I don't have.
All right. Mr. Martinez?
Well, first of all, I want to welcome Louis. Good to have you on board. No pun intended. Anyway, I've got a couple of things that I want to go over. The first item was there was an item on our board meeting last month. It was item F4, and it was on the consent calendar. It had to do with 5 books that were being donated from GSA, which stands for the Gay Straight Alliance Club from Pacheco, I believe. And they're donating 5 books and other resource material to each of our 8 school sites. I was to vote on this item, and I didn't have any information on it, so I asked to pull it until we got information on it. And after reviewing the books, there was 5 of them. The first book was called Chrysanthemum. It dealt with bullying, which is something that's close to my heart. So that book to me was acceptable. The following books, Tango Makes 3, the family book, I Am Jazz, Read a Crayon Story, to me all had LGBT narratives to them. And these are books also that have been banned by Loudoun County. These exact books have been banned. So there's a battle going on out there in life, and it's a battle that I call good and evil, and everything that we're exposed to, or we expose our children to, is either good for us or it's bad for us. And as a board member, I feel it's my duty to protect our most precious commodity in this district, and that is our children. So I recommend that we don't approve these books that have targeted our young, innocent, and most vulnerable children in our elementary schools. I choose to be morally and ethically correct instead of politically correct. We need to stand for righteousness. We need to make the right decisions to bear the right fruit in life. We cannot govern in fear over man's laws that are made to negatively indoctrinate our children with agendas that will undermine their future development. So that was the first thing that I wanted to cover. The second one that I'm going to read had to do with the special meeting that we had filling the vacancy that we had here on the board. And before I read that, it has nothing to do with this gentleman sitting next to me. I've got respect for him, and absolutely has nothing to do. I'm just going to address, the letter will speak for itself. It says, hello, everyone. In light of our last board meeting to fill the open vacancy, I came across an article that referenced ethics that I would like to share. Research shows that the public has higher ethical expectations for members of the school board than any other elected body. This should come as no surprise to any of us if you think about the fact that our Los Banos community has entrusted their most precious and priceless resource to the Board of Education, their children. Research also points out that ethics is a key to the success of any organization. Also, ethics ties into each of the core activities related to school board service. Number one, adhering to board roles and responsibilities. Number two, following law and board policy. Number three, using best practices. Number four, navigating the precarious road between getting along and going along and doing what's right. Board members are expected to set an example that is morally admirable and free of even a hint of self-serving impropriety. I understand that at times the ethical high road can require making very difficult decisions, especially when doing the ethically correct thing is not always clear or has been presented vaguely or biased. Nonetheless, public trust and credibility is essential for effective governance. Making decisions or behaving in a manner that is unethical undermines the credibility of elected board members and dissolves public trust. Consequently, not allowing for open deliberations, as with the hiring process that our recent superintendent was hired under, potentially opens the doors to bias, discrimination, and other hidden agendas. This last hiring process to fill the vacant board position was, to me, counterproductive to the mission and vision of our school board district and to the academic achievement of our students by not hiring the more superior and best qualified candidate. We failed our district, our students, and our community, and to me that was shameful. Clearly, we cannot allow board members to disregard moral, legal, and ethical imperatives with hidden agendas by those that are supposed to lead to display such unethical behavior. All this cultivates toxicity, dysfunction, and is debilitating to our communities. Respectfully, Ray Martinez. So, again, no reflect on Lewis here. Next to me, it was just a process that there was a matrix system that was inserted at the last minute. And it's a system that can, to me, can be, you can program any desired result off of it. And there was one of the candidates there that, to me, none of the other candidates even came close to the credentials of this person and the knowledge. She was already working for Merced College system. And again, why, nobody even came close, but she was given one of the highest scores to push her out of the competition. And to me, that's not acceptable. So that said, that's all I've got to say.
I have some people who wish to speak, but unless it's addendum to your board report, if you want to make comments on anything that was said here, we can do that in the discussion section at the end of the agenda. So anybody wants to speak on adding to their board report? Okay, so if you wanted to make a comment on something, that'll happen in discussion, which is at the end of the meeting. All right. I have no report tonight. All right, we are on to unfinished business, which is the Pacheco High School GSA donation. This item last month was before us. It was on the consent calendar as a donation. That item was pulled for discussion. We pulled it, and there was no action taken because we could not get the required number of votes, which is 4, since we had one member who hadn't been appointed yet, and then we had one member who was not with us that evening, so there was only 5 members of the board here. The bylaws of the board and California Ed Code both state that a majority of the board must vote to pass or to take any action. Majority of this board is 4. We had 5 members present, and we had a vote of 3-2 on 2 motions that evening on that item. So it did not pass, so we're bringing it back as an unfinished business item. And it's for the donation of books by the Pacheco GSA to each of our 8 elementary schools. Again, I see we have some people up here to speak. I'd like to remind everybody that there is a 3-minute limit for each speaker. You can check your time over on the monitor there underneath the TV. It'll give you your time, I think, and down to the last few minutes, it kind of just says you're down to very short time. When your time is up, the mic goes off, and we have a total of 20 minutes for this agenda item. So if there are any speakers, keep in mind that it's 20 minutes total. So we will start now.
Hey,
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Martin Thompson, and I am a National Education Association board member representing the Central Valley. Tonight, I'd like to tell you a story about a student named Rodney Biggs. Pinning Rodney Biggs against a locker, a student wailed on him, giving him a black eye, a fractured eye socket, and bruising his ribs. This was not a lone incident for Biggs, who came out as a gay to his classmates in a school in Tennessee. Rodney was anything but evil. What had happened to him was. Unfortunately, this is not an unusual event for students who identify within the LGBTQ community. Many of these students fear coming to school suffering from depression, having panic attacks, becoming truant, are 5 times more likely to commit suicide, and have higher risk for substance abuse and risky behavior. They are 2 to 3 times more likely to be bullied at school. When LGBTQ students feel the lack of support from their school leaders, the impact is substantial. You have the opportunity tonight to say to these students, you matter, that you are important to us, and that we support you. Tonight, your actions can help address the needs for more awareness and support for your LGBTQ students who attend your schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. Small steps by you tonight could lead to bigger steps by others in the future and send a message to these students that they belong. I ask you to show your support and do the right thing by accepting these donations of books by the Pacheco High School GSA. Thank you.
Hang on one second, Ayla. I just try and make sure I got all the numbers right for the clock so I don't short our 20-minute timeline. Okay, sure. Go ahead, Ayla.
Good evening, board members. My name is Isla Nelson, and I'm the advisor of our Pacheco High School Gay Straight Alliance. This spring, my students were awarded $2,500 in Safety in Schools grants from the California Teachers Association for anti-bullying projects they've been coordinating. One of the projects is the elementary book donation on tonight's agenda. The club officers who spearheaded this project regret that they couldn't be here tonight to speak with you in person. They graduated last month and have already moved and begun classes at their universities. I haven't actually fully explained to them what's been going on here in regard to the donation because I know how hurtful it will be. You see, these kids have probably done more work to improve school climate than most of the people sitting in this room. And I'm ashamed that instead of commending them for their work, that this district might rather send them off to college with a slap in the face. These are kids who could tell you stories of how they were bullied in elementary school, threatened in junior high, verbally harassed, and worse, all along their journeys through our school district. But they're not victims, and they remain hopeful for the future of children here who don't have to be doomed to walk a similar path. Rather than wallow in self-pity, these kids took on the difficult work that the responsible adults in this room should be doing. But with nothing but kindness and love in their hearts, they asked, what can we do to help those who will come after us? What can we do to make our schools safer for all kids? This donation project was their answer. They know that the research shows that having inclusive texts in our libraries and classrooms decreases bullying and improves school climate for all students. The California Department of Education recognizes this as well, which is why the inclusion of texts that represent LGBTQ students is mandated by state law. In closing, I'd like to share a statement that our GSA president wrote regarding the project. The Pacheco High School GSA would like to present your school with these books, which represent inclusivity, originality, and creativity. These books tell stories about how it's okay to be different and that it's okay to be you no matter what. I hope these books can influence future generations to spread love and positivity. Sincerely, Alex Osorio, GSA President, Pacheco High School. I hope that you make the right decision tonight, not just the one that is actually legally mandated.
It's your time. That's your time.
But that you do it because it's actually the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Jason Walsh. I'm a history teacher at Los Banos Junior High School. I'm a parent of a second grader at Westside Union Elementary, and I'm a parent of a student that will attend LBUSD in the fall of 2020. I attend church on Sundays. I attend the Methodist Church near Henry Miller Elementary. My wife, she teaches Sunday school there, and we take our children. And we go nearly every Sunday. We just finished being teachers at the Vacation Bible School event, a week-long event at our church that is an annual summer event. We had over 100 students at that event. When I take my children to church each week, I hope that they learn that God represents love, tolerance, understanding, empathy, and that these are the things that they take away from Christian principles. And I say that because the nature of the remarks by Mr. Martinez seemed theological in nature, and that it's a shame that theological remarks would be used to discriminate against and oppress groups of our students. We have a duty. You have a duty, trustees. Our administration has a duty. Our teachers, certificated staff, our classified staff, we have a duty to ensure that we have safe schools that are welcoming to all students, that celebrate ethnic, national differences amongst our students, socioeconomic differences amongst our students, sexual orientation amongst our students, and the differences that they have, that all of these groups should feel welcome in our school. And I really hope that we don't have students that are watching this tonight, because if we do, they saw one of our trustees, one of their governing members, say that books that reflect their family, their feelings, the way they identify, are immoral and inappropriate. That is totally false. I see students in our classrooms that are struggling with depression because they're going through finding themselves and understanding who they are and not knowing who allies are and not knowing if it's safe. There shouldn't be any doubt whether our schools are safe. There should be no doubt. And we have teachers here, we have employees of the district, certificated and classified. And if you're an employee in the district and you are dedicated to making sure that our schools are safe, that all students are welcome, that homosexual students are welcome, transgender students are welcome, I ask for you to stand up right now if you are dedicated to making sure that this school, this district, all of the schools in our district are completely safe and welcoming. Students, we might have a trustee that thinks your behavior is immoral, but you have allies. You have allies that are standing behind me. You have allies at our school sites. And we will not allow any trustee to force us to do anything that will harm you.
That's your time. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hang on a second.
Mr. Chairman.
Hang on one second. Hang on.
I'm sorry.
Gotta get my timers
Get your timer
in sync
together,
here, okay?
man.
All right, now you're on.
I'm on?
Welcome.
Amen. Let me
Welcome.
start over. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bruce Rivers. I'm an almost 20-year resident of this community, and I've had, I got 24 grandchildren. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
And it's a serious mistake on many levels to introduce controversial views on a whole district. It's confusing to our children, contradicts our faith community's beliefs, and oversteps the school roles in these different things. Here in Los Banos, as a parent, as a grandparent, I believe sexually based situations should be taught at home first. Now, I was a product of a bullying situation when I was a little fella. Then I got big and I didn't get bullied no more. My granddaughter was a member at Los Banos High School. In her first 4 days there, one day a young lady came up and touched her on her behind and told her, "Ooh, I really like you." I don't want no little boys touching my granddaughter. So I went to the school, they told me, "Oh, well, it's, come on, Bruce, it ain't all that serious." Well, it's serious to me. Now, my granddaughter's moved on, and she adjusted and went everything fine. But like I say, as a grandparent and as a parent, I believe my wife, my children, education on sexual matters starts in my house. You do what you want to do in your house. But I don't believe the school should be having this thing. And upon review of the books that were listed, the bullying book was perfect. Amen? I thought that was a great book. But these other books, and at the elementary school level, how many elementary school kids go home and talk about this stuff? None of mine did. I've had 24 of them. None of mine came home asking me about this stuff. My high school students don't even ask me about it right now. So among school-age children, it's not appropriate yet for babies to be dealing with this issue. I ain't mad at nobody, and I ain't know you call me homo whatever you want to. I am not a homophobe because I ain't scared of nothing or nobody. I'm 64 years old. I love every child in this community. But then when I see a grown man stand and kind of roar up at people about something, ain't nobody mad about this. We just want to do it at our own house. You do it at your house, I'll do it at my house. Leave it out of my school.
Good evening.
Good evening. Steve Hammond, a resident of Los Banos. Been here 23 and a half years. I just want to start off by saying, as a member of the faith community, a leader in the faith community, we're not here to be against anybody. We're here to promote the love of Jesus Christ, and he loves everybody. Okay, we want to say that first and foremost. For 17 years, I was the primary coach of First Priority on the high school campus, a Christian club, and we promoted that among the students. We had, at that time, the largest club on the campus, and we battled against people in the same group that we're hearing from today that attacked us. So we're not here to attack. We're not here to even have a battle. What we're saying is the subject matter is not appropriate, especially for elementary school children. We are here to stand up for not only what is right, but what is righteous. Not only what is wholesome, but what is holy. That's who we are. Now, we're not here to force our religion on anybody or force our faith on anybody. We're just here to simply say our children are valuable to us. That sign says our children, our future, our children are too important to have this subject matter introduced to them in a public school from a library without parental consent. It's just inappropriate. We would like you to take that into consideration. I know there's all kind of laws from our state, the state government that doesn't believe in the valley values that we believe. We're not the Bay Area. We're not Sacramento. We're not the LA Basin. We are in the valley. We live by valley values, the more conservative part of California, and we would hope you would vote those values as well. Again, we're not here to attack anyone. We're not here to be against anyone. We believe the subject matter of these books, 4 out of the 5, are not appropriate for children in this age group. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. I want to thank you for all being, for you all being here, doing this job. I'm sure it's a daunting task. My name is George Allen. My wife and I have raised 3 daughters in this community, and we've worked with people about many issues. First and foremost, we've been part of the Christian community, and at large, we've worked with many churches. Let me say that working with different churches in Los Banos, it's safe to say that the churches of the community view the homosexual community as being people that need help. There are people in many good Christian organizations that have worked with individuals to help them out of the lifestyle that is most destructive to themselves. Thinking about the high rate of suicide among themselves tells us there is much work to be done. Some might say that it's because of an acceptance issue that they would be compelled to put books in our schools and libraries, but nothing could be further from the truth because most have hurt themselves after having multiple relationships. That being said, we recognize the issue has become very politicized, and today we also recognize an embattled group of people have been bludgeoned over and over, and I don't feel this community needs to be clubbed with this political issue. Surely people might want to say that we are homophobic, but we are not that. Because a great deal of time has elapsed, and we recognize it for what it is, and that it is a foothold into our community of Los Banos, like many other communities that have been threatened and live in fear instead of addressing the real issues. I would like to say one other thing. We don't have a demographic of Jewish population, especially a conservative Jewish population, but we would agree that the Jewish population and the Muslim population as well would probably disagree with this issue. I hope I've said these things as kindly as possible. We have no animosity in saying these things, and we feel that these types of materials only bring about a one-sided approach in addressing them, and that makes it prejudicial. Thank you, and I'm sure the Christian pastors of this community would be willing to talk with any one of you about this issue. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, good evening.
Good evening. This is not politics. It's to protect the innocence of children.
Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Jose Fernando Leal Jr.
Thank you.
This is not politics. It's to protect the innocence of children. Bob Dole. My son is 6 years young, and he isn't capable of standing up for himself. So as a father, I must stand up for him and be his voice. I love my son, and when I breathe him in, he smells like love and still has a sense of innocence. So it is my duty to protect his innocence from those who purposefully or unwittingly seek to take it from him. Author Tiffany Madison said, "No one loses their innocence. It's either taken or given away willingly." We must protect our children from adult topics and issues and continue to let our schools become a safe haven for young, susceptible minds, prohibiting the induction of controversial material just as we have persistently fought against drugs, gangs, paraphernalia, and unapproved apparel from entering our school campuses. As Ernest Hemingway said, all things truly wicked start with the innocent. A library is a place where you can lose your innocence without losing your virginity. And that comes from Germaine Greer. Libraries are sacred places of stored knowledge and is a privileged means to obtaining truth and understanding. Our education system has a most exclusive obligation to uphold the integrity of material allowed that will play an important part in shaping and influencing the minds and hearts of the next generation. The Trust of the Innocent is the liar's most useful tool by Stephen King. Our children are trusting us, the adults, to diligently and honorably guard and protect them from any form of harm and deception. We owe them their rights to remain innocent, pure, and good, as that is what we desire for them to exhibit in society. It is more important that innocence be protected than it is that guilt be punished. For guilt and crime are so frequent in this world that they can all be punished. But if innocence itself is brought to the bar and condemned, perhaps to die, then the citizen will say whether I do good or whether I do evil is immaterial. For innocence itself is no protection. And if such an idea as that were to take hold of the mind of the citizen, that would be the end of security whatsoever. President John Adams. I've traveled around the sun 43 times, and I've come to fully understand that the only force that corrupts the innocent is the perverse. And Webster's dictionary defines perverse as turned the wrong way, deviating from what is right, true, and correct, obstinate in the wrong, to misinterpret or misapply, to lead astray, to corrupt. And these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. You shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, his testimonies and his statutes, which he commanded you. And you shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with you. And the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. Then it will be righteousness for us if we are careful to observe all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he commanded us. Now therefore, fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and security.
That's your time. So I would like to let everybody know we are at 18 minutes and 27 seconds. So we have 1 minute and 33 seconds left in this 20-minute time frame. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Bryn Wilkin. I am a student at Los Menos High School right now, and I am gay. I just want to say that there's no magic powder in those books that are going to turn your students gay, just to clarify. When I was 12, I realized that I was gay, and I was terrified. I came out to my friends first, who were accepting, and then I came out to my parents, who were also accepting. And I'm very thankful for that. But I came out at school. And when I came out at school, I was told that there was something wrong with me. I was told that I was there was something wrong with me. I was told that I was insane, basically. Because of that, I have depression and anxiety. I suffered from panic attacks weekly for a while, and I fell into self-harm. I am almost a year clean now, so it's very hard to say this because there are people here saying that these books are going to corrupt kids. No, they're going to help them. If I had had these resources when I was a kid, I probably would have turned out a lot less damaged than I am today. If these kids can read something and see that what they are isn't abnormal, it's normal, and they're not alone, then it's gonna help them. It's not gonna hurt anybody. These books aren't
That's your time, Brent.
wrong.
Pardon me? That's it. That's 20 minutes. So we are done with this discussion right now. All right, so we are on to board discussion on this item. Anybody wishing to speak? Ani? Sorry.
Ready?
Okay, go ahead, Ani.
Well, as of last meeting, just want to give my point of view. I was not clear on the acronyms, so many acronyms as a new person. I did not understand what GSA meant. And it was really a difference of understanding and being able to give your solid opinion. And when Mrs. La at the end told me, I said, what's happening? And she said, I asked her, what is GSA? And she said, Gay Straight Alliance. I knew then that the correct thing was for me, was to support anybody in this district. That's my job. That's my job. I'm a Catholic. I mentioned last month that I was actually a teacher for a summer camp. That doesn't change the fact that I'm not going to support anybody I'm going to change just because of my personal belief. My job here is to support our district and to support anybody that's not the norm or is it, whatever it is. They are part of our district no matter what. That doesn't change the fact that your beliefs will change, that your actions will change. Libraries, like they mentioned, what do? They give us knowledge. Knowledge is what we need, and that's what I did. I had ignorance last meeting. I couldn't speak up because I was ignorant to the acronym. And because of that, I couldn't even fathom what to speak. Lord said, and they mentioned earlier, fear the Lord. Fear him by pointing your fingers. Don't point your fingers. Don't point fingers and exclude anybody. Because whoever is free of sin, let them throw their first stone. And for me, just to clarify, in this, solid, if I would have been in last months and I would have understand the acronym, I would have said, yes, I support that. Why do I? Because I'm including everybody in my district, and I'm not excluding anybody. My job is to understand where I stand. My job is at home, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, and that's my job at home. Right here, it's an official. And that's what I am, that's what I need to do. I need to represent everybody in this school district. I'm sorry, in the district. And if people believe different, that's fine. I respect you. But our job is to respect everybody that's in our district. And I just wanted to clarify the last time I did not understand the acronym. So thank you for clarifying.
All right. Marlene.
I'd just like to add that I first and foremost put my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, up front. He's number one in my life. He teaches me to love everybody. We love everybody. And he also says in his word that we shouldn't judge. I can't be the judge and the jury on what will happen to anybody in this room. We don't know what directions our students are going to go. That is up to Jesus Christ. If you believe in that, then that's where you got to put your faith. The school district where I sit, I'm an elected official on a public school board. There's no Christian values on this public school board. I ran for it and I won the seat. I had to know when I came here, I had to know that Christianity is not a part of the public school system. I think we all know that. Has anybody in this room reviewed the California Healthy Kids Act? Has anybody read that policy or read Ed Code 51934 through 51935? Has anybody taken a look at that? This has been going on for 10 years. This is nothing new. This has been going on for 10 years in the state of California. They've held many seminars in the city of Sacramento. They've held seminars, they've had clergy there, they've had physicians there, they've had medical staff there, trying to come up with a way to protect these students. In January, my cousin came home and found his son hanging in the garage. He was gay. He couldn't come out to his father to tell his father that because he was raised in a Christian home. He died in his father's garage because nobody knew what this young kid was dealing with. If this book or one book will save one kid, I have to say yes. I don't want to go to another funeral. Not my family. I don't want to see another kid hurt. We're here to protect kids from bullying, from name calling, and I don't know if you know, I have a 5-year-old. Name calling starts in kindergarten. It starts early. They don't start calling names when they're 10 and 11. It starts before that. Oh, I was talking to some coworkers. A lot of kids don't get this at home. Parents are not educating your kids. I got a granddaughter. I don't want her to read the books, but guess what I'm teaching her? I'm teaching her the first question you have to come to me. I will educate you. If I can't educate you, I know somebody who does. I could get you the answer. Trust me. I can find an answer for my granddaughter. The books, if they're in the library, if one kid could find the book that's having a problem, then they should be able to read it. If it could save one life in this school district, let it be so. Let it be so. We can't judge. We can't do that. Your Bible tells you you can't judge. I don't understand the disconnect. We all fall short of something. We don't know what these kids' issues are. The cousin that I lost, healthy, able-bodied, you would have never suspected that he had any kind of problem. You would have never known. Nobody would have ever known. The family is now going through support. There's a lot of depression. There's a divorce in the winds because of the family is falling apart. This has caused a major problem in the city of Sacramento where all of this took place. A pastor there spoke, a female, and you know what she said? She said, I will vote yes for these books that you placed in libraries if I don't have to bury one more kid. We don't know this. We don't know the extent of this. Read the Healthy Kids Act. Take a look at this information. It's out there. These kids are not faring well with this, with the shame and doubt that they have. As a board member, I'm here to keep them safe. Safety is number one to me. Bullying sits right at your heart rate. Bullying is number one to you. These kids are bullied. These kids are name called. So for me, if my church members are offended, I have to let you know I have to support the students of Los Banos Unified School District. Thank you.
Ray?
There was a statement just made that we're not to judge. The Word of God says that the Word is good for reproof, for correction. And I say that let us focus on, whatever the issue is, let's fix it. Let's not continue to come up with different agendas and continue to enable it. And that's what I feel is happening. And I say, let's fix it. Let's not allow it or enable it. And I'll just close with a quote that it says that all that is needed for evil to triumph is for good men and women to stay silent and do nothing and say nothing. And I wanted to thank everybody that's come up to share their views, because this is what it takes to work through something like this. It's not an easy subject for anybody to deal with. It hasn't even for me to say, speak up and say something about it. So I'll just leave it at that and just pray that, when the vote goes down, that people are making the right decision and not an emotional decision. And again, just focusing on, let us fix something. Let's not continue to enable it and let it continue. I want to help all these kids, even the ones that are struggling. And it's sad we have too many suicides, and they're not going down, they're going up. And it's because of things like this, continuing to enable something like this. So let us do the right thing.
Mark?
Well, I think that the more that we can teach our students tolerance, the better off that we will be as a society. And that's exactly our job, is to produce students of strong character and intelligence. It's not our position of the school district to perpetrate intolerant views. So I think that we need to teach our children about inclusiveness.
Is there anybody else? I was elected to represent and protect 11,000 plus students in this district, plus over 1,000 employees in our district. We have LGBTQIA plus students in our district. We have LGBTQIA plus staff in our district. I'm here to protect all of them. If there's anything that I could do to make sure that happens, I'm going to do it. The books that we are talking about tonight, one of the books is on bullying, which everybody says that's great, which is. Bullying is something we really need to address. A couple of the other books address non-traditional families. And we have students, many, probably more than we could imagine. We have those students who come from non-traditional families. And non-traditional families means there isn't a mom and dad in the picture. They could be a single parent, foster parents, same-sex parents, could be two moms, two dads, anything. Those students are bullied because of who their parents are. That's not right either. These books address those issues and make students aware that there are non-traditional families. So we're talking about multiple things besides LGBTQ students. We're talking about non-traditional families. We're talking about situations in which our students are bullied from not anything that they can control. I need to protect all 11,000 of those students, all 1,000 plus of our employees. These books are approved by the state of California for inclusion, and they're grade appropriate. These are primary books, basically. They are geared toward our primary students. They're in libraries all over the state of California. If, like has been stated, if this could save one life or it could save 101 lives, I'm for it. I think it's something that we really need to have available to our students to keep them safe. If there's no other comments, there's something that I would like to read to everybody here tonight, and those people that are listening at home or whatever. This afternoon, we, just to make sure that the board did their due diligence, or the board leadership did their due diligence in addressing this issue, we contacted the board, our legal team, and asked them for an opinion on this. The board was sent this email earlier this afternoon, and I would like to share it with all of you. And I think it's very important that we consider what's in this. The board will be considering an action tonight to accept the donation of library books with LGBTQ themes, which are on the state-approved list for inclusion in school libraries, and accordingly, they have been determined to be age-appropriate for the students in the grade levels who have access to these books. If the board votes to accept these books, there is no risk of legal liability. However, if the board were to vote not to accept the books, the district would potentially face a risk of legal action and potential liability for engaging in sexual orientation, gender identity discrimination. The Ed Code has broad protections which apply to all aspects of students' educational experiences, including access to state-approved library books. Education Code Section 220 states, "No person shall be subjected to discrimination on the basis of disability, gender, gender identity, gender expression, nationality, race or ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or any other characteristics that is contained in the definition of hate crimes set forth in Section 422.55 of the Penal Code, including immigration status, in any program or activity conducted by an educational institution that receives or benefits from state financial assistance or enrolls pupils who receive state student financial aid." Therefore, from a risk management perspective alone, it would be my recommendation that the board approve acceptance of these books. Todd Guluba, partner of Atkinson, Andelson, Loya, Rude, and Romo. And that came from our board attorney. All right. Any other discussion? I need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
What's the motion? To approve the books. Oh, but Gary started off, so Gary, what's your motion? No. Gary, what's your motion? What is your motion? Your motion, your motion is to approve the books. Okay? Second? Got a motion by Mr. Martinez, excuse me, Mr. Munoz, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez to approve the donation of the books. Any further discussion? Roll call, Tina?
Mr. Martinez? Mr. Castro?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Benton? Yes. Ms. Rodriguez? Yes. Mr. Munoz? Yes. And Mr. Pereira?
Yes. All right. All right. Again, thank you to everybody who came tonight to speak to us. We really appreciate your comments, and thank you for coming here tonight. On to new business. Item A, our provisional intern permits. Dr. Calzadias. All right, Dr. Calzadias.
Current regulation governing provisional internship permits require that a notice of intent to employ an applicant be made public and that a copy of that notice be submitted with the permit request. Public notice for permit request must include the name of the candidate for whom the permit is being requested, the specific assignment, including the subject and grade level the candidate will be teaching. Tonight, we bring before you a request for approval of 5 provisional intern permit or PIP hires. Ricardo Ceja would be teaching math at Los Banos High School. Carolee Helmrich would be teaching math at Creekside Junior High. Susanna Brazil, English at Pacheco High School. And Daniel Maldonado, 5th grade at Volta Elementary. It's recommended the board approve the 4 provisional internship permits for the 2019-20 school year.
All right. Just to remind everybody, you did receive an updated list with the new names on it. There was 2 that were added after the board report after the agenda was posted. So that is in front of you, and extra copies are available in front of Tina over here on the side desk. Any discussion? If not, I need a motion. Oops, I had. Who was first? Mark, were you? Okay. Oh, well, doesn't matter. Okay. Motion by Benton, seconded by Martinez. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And it is carried.
Thank you.
All right. Here we go. On to the annexation of some property. And that is done.
Yes.
And again, you
district
have,
is-
excuse me, you guys, everybody, you have a revised BRM, board reference material, which has the correct resolution number in the 3rd paragraph of background information. So you have that in front of you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. The school district has in place a community facilities district, which is authorized under the Mello-Roos Act, that allows fees to support constructing school facilities so that when new growth happens in the community, that schools will be there when those students show up. And every so often, we have new areas in the school district that are desired to be developed and then therefore need to be annexed into the community facilities district. It's a regular kind of a process. The process is a 2-step process that requires the board to declare its intent to annex the property and then to publish it in the newspaper and those kinds of things. And then
The last step in the process is no less than 30 days or no more than 60 days to actually have an election by the property owners in the area proposed to be annexed. And so that'll require a public hearing, and that's when the actual approval will get done. This is step one today to declare our intent to enter into this process.
Okay. Any questions for Don? Seeing none, need a motion.
You need a motion?
I do.
I'll motion.
Ray made the motion.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Munoz. And without further discussion, this is a roll call vote. Tina?
Ms. Benton?
Yes.
Mr. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Pereira?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Don. All right, on to the consent calendar. Are there any pulls in this item tonight? If not, need a motion. Got a motion by Ms. Benton, seconded by Ms. Smith to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor? Oh, excuse me, it is a roll call vote. Tina? My fault.
Ms. Benton?
Yes.
Mr. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez? Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Pereira?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. On to reporting of closed session action. And that is Mr. Munoz.
Expulsion case number 5502871. Pupil is expelled for the fall and spring semester of the 2019-20 school year. Pupil shall report to Valley Community School or any school of the parent's choice outside Los Banos Unified School District, which meets the requirements of the Education Code of the State of California.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Munoz, seconded by Ms. Benton. The vote was yes by Benton, Castro, Martinez, Munoz, Pereira, Rodriguez. We had one no vote, Smith, no absence, and no non-votes. The next item on the agenda is closed session, but we finished everything in closed session. So we are done there. And then next is discussion, information, and future agenda items. There was some discussion wanted on something. So Marlene.
I would just like to say that last month we did elect a candidate, and I voted for the person that I felt was best. I didn't consider anybody else's information. If one board member felt that a person was the best, that is their opinion. Your opinion has no jurisdiction in my heart and in my soul. I made it from my best judgment. I did the best I could. I made the best vote. Whatever anybody thinks, it wasn't ethically wrong and not morally incorrect. For you to judge us and say that we are, that's inappropriate. That's unethical. For a board member to tell us in a scathing email that we were inappropriate to select somebody of our choice. This board is made up of 7 members. There's 7 votes. Apparently, all 7 of us voted for this young man. It looks like we all did, with the way the numbers work out. So I'm not sure why we're being accused of being immoral and unethical. I don't think you can explain that because you don't know my heart. And I would like to not be included in those types of emails from a board member again. Thank you.
Okay. Also on this same item, I too am upset that my ethics were called into question. Believe me, if I wanted to talk ethics, it would be an uncomfortable situation up here. And I'm not going to do it. But, look who's calling the kettle black. I have sat through the process, participated in the process of appointing a person to sit on this board, it was a process that was fair. It was a process that's used all over the state in multiple situations, not just educational situations, but it's used in private industry. It is used in school districts for hiring. It's a very common practice. When you have multiple candidates, and we had 6 really good candidates, it helps you narrow down the field and find a candidate that everybody kind of gels on and agrees upon. And to say that we didn't select the best candidate, you know, I'm not going to get into who thinks, I mean, all of us, we could have, you know, 6 different or 7 different, or 6 different opinions, not 7, 6 different opinions of who the best candidate was, because there were 6 candidates. Again, that is one person's opinion. Obviously, it wasn't everybody's opinion. The fact we ended up with an excellent candidate, and that person got appointed. There are multiple reasons why I feel that the candidate that Mr. Martinez thinks was the best candidate. There are multiple reasons why I didn't feel that that person was the best candidate. Wasn't the worst candidate, but wasn't the best candidate. And like I said, they were all good. But again, that's one person's opinion, not everybody's. So, you know, the process was fair. The process worked. We ended up selecting someone who's going to do a great job. You know, it should have never been questioned about the outcome of that decision that night. But yet, because someone was happy that who they felt wasn't the best person, then we all get questioned on our morals and our ethics, which is not right, and it hurts. We have spent numerous board trainings on a Saturday for most of the day, sitting through ethics training, board relationships, and as far as I'm concerned, that was a waste of time. Because if I get emails like this, which is an email that was sent to us that he read, it only proves that what we did was a waste of time, because obviously it didn't stick. And I'm really hurt, and I think it really destroys the credibility of this board, and I think it destroys the ability of this board to work together as a team. And I'm sorry that we are where we are. Ms. Benton.
Well, I, for one, resent being called unethical. That is my job as a realtor, to be ethical, and I really resent that you are saying that to me. I resent the emails. You're talking about anti-bullying, and you're sending us emails bullying us because we didn't agree with you. I have a problem with that as well. Please don't send those emails to me again. We picked who we felt was best, and simply because we don't agree, that's the beauty of a board. We don't have to always agree, sir. And this is the outcome. I think that Lewis will do a fine job. I think any of them would have done a fine job. But this is who we have. And let's all work together and work as a board. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for discussion, information, or future agenda items tonight? Seeing none, it is 8:34 and we're going home. Thank you all for coming. Good night.